How are you guys doing? Today is Monday, May 16th, 2022. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review yesterday's Elite matchups and performances from Sunday, May 15th. And of course, I'm going to preview everything that's going on today as we navigate through the world of sports one day at a time. Taking a step back and looking at where we are in the calendar year, with 2 more teams eliminated, we now have 4 teams left in the NBA playoffs competing for the title, as we are now to the Eastern and Western Conference Finals. Taking a look at what's going on with the NHL, we are through the last games of the first round, as there are now 8 teams left competing for the Stanley Cup title in the Stanley Cup playoffs. In the MLB, we are in the second month of the playoffs, as of course teams are starting to seed themselves out and figure out who is the best of the best within their own divisions to at least get started. Not to mention that with soccer, with the Bundesliga season already being over, we are seeing some of the other European leagues come to the end of their seasons. With that said, I'm going to start with what's going on in the NBA, as there were 2 Game 7s to set up both conference final series. The first of which took place in Boston, as the 2-seed Boston Celtics would host the Milwaukee Bucks. After both teams finished with the same regular season record, it would be the Celtics that got the home court advantage, and it would pay off in this matchup. Before we ended up getting to Game 7, the first 2 games were played in Boston, as the Bucks won Game 1, the Celtics won Game 2. In Milwaukee, the Bucks would win Game 3 and the Celtics would win Game 4. The series was tied at 2. In Game 5 in Boston, the Celtics would end up losing by 3, as the Bucks took a 3-2 lead. The Celtics tied the series in Game 6 after beating the Bucks by 13 in Milwaukee. In Game 7 last night, they ended up beating the Bucks 109-81. They would go on to win it by 28 points in order to be the team that advanced to the Eastern Conference Finals. In this matchup, they would go on to outscore the Bucks by 11 in the second quarter, as they were up by 5 at the half. They outscored the Bucks by 10 in the third and by 13 in the fourth. They outscored the Bucks by 23 in the second half. They outscored them by 34 after the first quarter, in the last 3 quarters, of course. On the losing end of this matchup, the 3-seed defending champs Milwaukee Bucks were led in scoring in their final game of the 2021-22 season by their elite starting power forward in last year's NBA Finals MVP, the Greek freak Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis will go on to finish with 25 points, 20 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals, and 5 turnovers in 43 minutes, as he also had a block. He shot 10 for 26 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3, and he shot 4 for 6 from the free throw line. Their starting point guard, Jrue Holiday, finished with 21 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists, and 2 steals in 41 minutes. He shot 9 for 21 from the field and 3 for 4 from the free throw line. Their starting center, Brook Lopez, had 15 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 blocks in 37 minutes. He shot 6 for 12 from the field and made both of his free throws. Their center off the bench, Bobby Portis, had 10 points and 6 rebounds in 22 minutes. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown 2-seed Boston Celtics were led in scoring by their starting power forward, Grant Williams. He finished with 27 points and 6 rebounds in 39 minutes, as he nearly fouled out. He shot 10 for 22 from the field and 7 for 18 from 3. Their elite starting small forward out of Duke, Jason Tatum, finished with 23 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, and 7 turnovers in 37 minutes. He shot 7 for 14 from the field, 5 for 9 from 3, and 4 for 5 from the free throw line. Their starting shooting guard out of Cal, Jaylen Brown, finished with 19 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 steals in 37 minutes. Their point guard off the bench out of Oregon, Peyton Pritchard, finished with 14 points and 5 rebounds in 17 minutes. Their starting point guard in this year's Defensive Player of the Year, Marcus Smart, finished with 11 points, 7 rebounds, and 10 assists in 37 minutes. He shot 2 for 9 from the field. He shot 6 for 7 from the free throw line. With this win, the 2-seed Boston Celtics are going to be the team that advances to the Eastern Conference Finals, where they will face off against the 1-seed Miami Heat. The Heat should have home court advantage in this series. as game one should be tomorrow on ESPN. And then, of course, looking at the other Game 7 that took place yesterday, it took place in Phoenix as the Phoenix Suns did finish with the best record in the NBA this season. They hosted the 4-seed Dallas Mavericks in Game 7 of this matchup. Looking at how it went, the Suns won the first two games in Phoenix, going up 2-0. The Mavericks won games 3 and 4 to even up the series at 2 in Dallas. The Suns won Game 3 in Phoenix to go up 3-2. The Mavericks won Game 6 in Dallas by 27 in order to make it to Game 7. The Mavericks are going to beat the Suns by 33 last night, 123-90, in order to be the team from the West that would go on to face off against the Warriors, as both teams that were on the road, both teams that had home court advantage on the Western Conference side of the semifinal round would get eliminated this round. The Mavericks won this game by 33 after they outscored the Suns by 10 in the first quarter. They were on to outscore the Suns by 20 in the second quarter. They were up by 30 at halftime. They were up 57-27. They would also go on to outscore the Suns by 12 in the third quarter, as they outscored them by 42 in the first three quarters, dominating the Phoenix Suns. In their final game of the 2021-22 season, the regular season champs Phoenix Suns at home were led in scoring by their small forward off the bench out of UNC, Cam Johnson. He finished with 12 points and 5 rebounds in 20 minutes. He shot 3 for 6 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and he made all 4 of his free throws. Their elite starting shooting guard out of Kentucky, Devin Booker, finished with 11 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists in 37 minutes. He shot 3 for 14 from the field and 5 for 6 from the free throw line. Their elite starting point guard, Chris Paul, will go on to finish with 10 points and 4 assists in 31 minutes. He would go on to shoot 4 for 8 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3, and 1 for 2 from the foul line to end his All-Star season. And then their forward off the bench, Ish Wainwright, finished with 10 points in 5 minutes. On the winning end of this matchup, the 4-seed Dallas Mavericks were led in scoring by their elite starting shooting guard out of Slovenia, Luka Doncic. He would go on to finish with 35 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals in 30 minutes. He would go on to shoot 12 for 19 from the field, 6 for 11 from 3, and he made all 5 of his free throws. The Mavericks starting, off the bench, their point guard off the bench, Spencer Dinwiddie, would finish with 30 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists in 25 minutes. He shot 11 for 15 from the field, 5 for 7 from 3, and he made all 3 of his free throws. They had 2 players with 30. Their starting point guard, Jalen Brunson, out of Villanova, finished with 24 points and 6 rebounds in 30 minutes. He shot 11 for 19 from the field and 2 for 4 from 3. With this win, the 4-seed Dallas Mavericks will win this series in 7, or they had won it already in 7. They will go on to face off against the 3-seed Golden State Warriors in the Western Conference Finals. Game 1 of that matchup will take place on Wednesday on TNT. As, like I said, the Warriors should have home court advantage. There's a 1, 2, 3, and 4 seed in the conference finals as we move forward. But there are now 4 teams left, as the Suns were the 5th team eliminated from the NBA playoffs, and it'll be about a couple more weeks until we see the next 2 teams eliminated. Taking a look at what's going on with the Stanley Cup playoffs, they were the last 2 games of the first round. Starting off in Madison Square Garden, the New York Rangers, the 2 seed in the Metropolitan Division, hosted the 3 seed Pittsburgh Penguins. And in this matchup, the Rangers would end up beating the Penguins in overtime at home to advance. The Penguins did take a 3-2 lead in the end of the second with an Evan Rodriguez goal. New York were tied in the third off a goal from Mika Zibanejad, and the power play goal would come from Artemi Panarin. And with this win, the Rangers would go on to take a 4-3 series win after they beat the Penguins 4-3 in this Game 7. The top star went to Artemi Panarin, the player who scored the game-winning goal for New York. The second star went to Mika Zibanejad, New York's center, their center, as he had a goal and 2 assists for himself. The third star of the game went to Evan Rodriguez, the center for Pittsburgh, as he had a goal and an assist. With this win, the Rangers are going to be the team that advances, as they are set now to play against the 1 seed in that Metropolitan Division, the Carolina Hurricanes, as their next matchup against Carolina is going to be set for Wednesday. And then with that said, taking a look at the second Game 7, the last playoff game of the first round of the 2022 Stanley Cup playoffs, it would be the 1 seed in the Pacific Division, Calgary Flames, hosting the top wildcard seed in the West, the Dallas Stars. Coming into this matchup, of course, the series was tied at 7. After the Flames had won Game 1, the Stars would win Game 2 and 3 to take a 2-1 series lead. Calgary will win Games 4 and 5 to go up 3-2 in the series. The Stars would even up the series in Game 6. In Game 7, the Calgary Flames would score a goal in overtime in order to beat the Dallas Stars, as the Stars were up 2-1 in the second period, as they were up 2-1 early. Matthew Tkachuk would be the player who would tie the game up, and then Johnny Gaudreau's goal in overtime would be the goal that helped Calgary get through, as they were able to just squeak by and eliminate Dallas Stars, making Dallas the 8th team eliminated from the Stanley Cup playoffs. Top star of this game went to Johnny Gaudreau, as Johnny Gaudreau, the Calgary left winger, would finish with 1 goal and an assist. Jake Oettinger, Dallas's goalie, would finish with 64 saves on the night. He did happen to allow 3 goals, and the team did end up losing, but 64 saves is incredible. Third star of the game went to Calgary's goalie, Jacob Markstrom, as he had 26 saves on the night, as he only allowed 2 goals on the night. With this win, the Calgary Flames are the team that advances, and they will face off against the 2-seed Edmonton Oilers after Edmonton were able to eliminate the LA Kings in 7 games just the other night. So that's what's going on as the first round of the Stanley Cup is now concluded. We are now entering the second round. There are now 18 teams that are left. And today, of course, is a break as the Stanley Cup playoffs will resume tomorrow. Taking a look now at what's going on in the MLB, starting off in Atlanta, the defending World Series champs Atlanta Braves will go on to host the Padres. The Padres would go on to send the game into extra innings by tying it up at 3 in the top of the 7th off of a sacrifice fly from Austin Nola. The Padres would end up scoring 4 runs in the top of the 11th, of course, topped off by a 2-run single from Will Myers. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown World Series defending champs Atlanta Braves were led out by their starting pitcher Kyle Wright. Kyle Wright would allow 3 runs off of 6.1 hit. He would allow 3 runs off of 3 hits in 6.1 innings pitched. He would strike out 9 batters and walk 2. The loss would end up going to the Braves closer for the day, Jackson Stephens. He allowed 4 runs off of 3 hits as he pitched the 10th and 11th inning. He would strike out 1 batter and walk 1. With this loss, he's 0-1, like I just said. In the Braves batting lineup, nobody on their team would finish with more than 1 hit. Their shortstop, Dansby Swanson, went 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. He hit his 4th home run of the year. On the winning end of this matchup, the San Diego Padres were led out by their starting pitcher, Joe Musgrove. He allowed 3 runs off of 4 hits in the 6 innings he pitched. He struck out 6 batters and walked 3. The win would go to the Padres setup relief pitcher, Nabel Crismatt. He would allow no earned runs off of 1 hit as he would pitch 2 innings. He would strike out 4 batters as well. So he would pitch the 9th and 10th innings. With this win, he's now 2-0. In the Padres batting lineup, their third baseman, Ha-Sung Kim, went 2 for 5 with an RBI and a run. Their right fielder, Will Myers, went 2 for 5 with 3 RBIs and a run. With this win, the San Diego Padres are 22-13. That is currently the second best record in the National League West. They've won 6 of their last 10 games as they have 1 more win and 1 more loss than the division-leading LA Dodgers. They are tied with the Milwaukee Brewers for the 4th best record in the National League at this point. With this loss, the Atlanta Braves are 16-19. The defending World Series champs are now holding on to the 3rd best record in their division as they've lost 5 of their last 10. They are sitting 6.5 games behind the NL East leading New York Mets. Taking a look at what's going on in our nation's capital, the Washington Nationals hosted the Houston Astros, and in the rematch of the 2019 World Series, the Astros would end up shutting the Nationals out 8-0, holding the Nats to only 4 hits all game. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Nationals would see the loss go to their starting pitcher, Patrick Corbin. Corbin would allow 5 earned runs off of 6 hits in 6 innings pitched. He would strike out 5 batters and walk 2. With this loss, Patrick Corbin is 0-6, In the Nats batting lineup, nobody in their batting lineup would finish with more than one hit. That will be attributed to great pitching from the Astros. On the winning end of this matchup, the Astros to see the win go to their goated starting pitcher, Justin Verlander. Verlander allowed no earned runs and only 2 hits in 5 innings pitched. He struck out 3 batters and walked 5. He struck out 5 batters and he walked 3. With this win, Justin Verlander is 5-1 on the year. In the Astros batting lineup, their elite second baseman, Jose Altuve, would end up going 2 for 5 with an RBI and 2 runs. He hit his 7th home run of the season in the 9th inning. Their first baseman in the reigning American League batting champ, Yuli Gurriel, would go 3 for 4 with an RBI and a run. He hit his 2nd home run of the year. Their shortstop and third baseman, Aldimas Diaz, went 2 for 4. And then their catcher, Martin Maldonado, will go 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. He hit his 3rd home run of the year. With this win, the Houston Astros are 23-12. That is currently the best record in the American League West. They've won 9 of their last 10 games, as they have 1 less win and 1 less loss than the Angels. They have the best win percentage in the AL West. They have the 2nd best win percentage in the American League at this point, as only the Yankees have a better win percentage than the Astros at this point. With this loss, the Washington Nationals are now 12-24. That is the worst record in the National League East, as they've now lost 7 of their last 10. They are now sitting 11 games behind the division-leading New York Mets at this point. Taking a look now at what's going on in Pittsburgh, the Pirates hosted the Cincinnati Reds, and the Pirates would end up beating the Reds off of 1 run in the 8th inning off of a ground out by Ke'Bryan Hayes. On the losing end of this matchup, the Reds saw the loss go to their starting pitcher, Hunter Greene. Hunter Greene allowed 1 earned run off of no hits in 7.1 innings pitched. He would strike out 9 batters and then walk 5, and with this loss, he's now 1-6. In the Reds batting lineup, nobody on their team would finish with more than 1 hit, as this would be a feat of the Pirates' good pitching on this side. On the winning end of this matchup, because looking at how the Reds fared, the Reds actually had a no-hitter as a team, but of course because of a ground out, the Pirates would end up winning and the Pirates had no hits, by the way. But on the winning end of this matchup, they were led out by Jose Quintana. Quintana allowed no earned runs off of 3 hits in the 7 innings he pitched. He would strike out 5 batters and then walk 1. The win would end up going to the Pirates' first relief pitcher, Chris Stratton. Stratton would allow no earned runs off of 1 hit in the 8th inning, as he struck out a batter and even walked 1. With this win, he's 2-1. The save would end up going to the Pirates' closer for the day, David Bednar. Bednar allowed no earned runs in the 9th inning, and he would pick up his 7th save of the year. In the Pirates batting lineup, nobody on their team finished with a hit, as Ke'Bryan Hayes, their third baseman, would finish with his 9th RBI of the year. With this win, the Pittsburgh Pirates are now 15-19. That is the 3rd best record in the National League Central, as they've now won their last 2 games, and they've now won 5 of their last 10. They are sitting 6.5 games behind the division-leading Milwaukee Brewers, as their 2-game winning streak is tied with the St. Louis Cardinals and the Chicago Cubs for the longest active winning streak in the National League at this point. With this loss, the Cincinnati Reds are 9-26. That is the worst record in the National League Central, and of course, that is the worst record in the majors. They are still the only team in the majors with a single-digit amount of wins this year. They've lost their last 2 games, and they've lost 4 of their last 10. They are sitting 13 games behind the division-leading Milwaukee Brewers at this point. Taking a look now at what is going on in Detroit, the team that holds the worst record in the American League, the Detroit Tigers, went on to host the Baltimore Orioles, and the Tigers won this game 5-1, scoring all 5 of their runs before the Orioles scored their lone one. On the losing end of this matchup, the Orioles saw the loss go to their starting pitcher, Tyler Wells. Tyler Wells would allow 3 earned runs off of 8 hits in the 4 innings he pitched. He would strike out 2 batters. With this loss, he's now 1-3. In the Orioles batting lineup, no one on their team would finish with more than 1 hit, as Trey Mancini hit his 3rd home run of the year. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Detroit Tigers would see the win go to their starting pitcher, Tarik Skubal. Tarik Skubal allowed no earned runs off of 3 hits in the 6 innings he pitched. He struck out 11 batters and walked 2. With this win, he's now 3-2 on the year. And in the Tigers batting lineup, Their designated hitter, Miguel Cabrera, went 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs, as the future Hall of Famer would hit his third home run of the year. Their third baseman, Harold Castro, went 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run. And then their catcher, Tucker Barnhart, went 2 for 4 with an RBI. With this win, the Detroit Tigers are 12-23. That is the worst record in the American League Central. They've now won their last 3 games. The Tigers are holding the worst record in the American League win percentage-wise. They're also holding on to the league's longest active winning streak at 3 games. They've won 4 of their last 10. They are sitting 8 games behind the division-leading Minnesota Twins at this point. And they have just 3 more losses than the Royals. But as of right now, the only teams that have worse records than the Tigers right now are the Washington Nationals and the Cincinnati Reds in the National League. With this loss, the Baltimore Orioles are 14-21. That is the 4th best record in the American League East. They've now lost their last 3 games. Their 3-game losing streak is the longest active losing streak in the American League and in the majors. They've lost 5 of their last 10 games. They are now sitting 11.5 games behind the division-leading New York Yankees at this moment. Taking a look at what happened in Queens, the New York Mets hosted the Seattle Mariners. The Mariners would go on to beat the Mets 8-7, as the Mariners would, of course, see the Mets take the very first lead of the game. The Mariners would build a lead and see the Mets take it right back. The Mariners would tie it right up with a Julio Rodriguez solo home run and take the lead off of a Cal Raleigh home run. After they took that lead, the Mets would not be able to come back. The Mariners won it 8-7. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown New York Mets were led out by Carlos Carrasco. Carrasco allowed 4 earned runs off of 8 hits in the 4.1 innings he pitched. He struck out 2 batters and walked 1. The loss would go to the Mets' first relief pitcher, Chasen Shreve. Shreve allowed 2 earned runs off of 2 hits in the 1 inning he pitched. With this loss, he's 1-1. In the Mets batting lineup, their center fielder, Brandon Nimmo, went 2 for 5 with 3 RBIs. Their elite shortstop, Francisco Lindor, went 1 for 4 with an RBI and a run, as he would go on and hit his 6th home run of the year. On the winning end of this matchup, the Seattle Mariners, we saw the win go to their elite starting pitcher, Robbie Ray. The reigning American League Cy Young winner would allow 5 earned runs off of 5 hits in the 6 innings he pitched. He struck out 9 batters and walked 3. With this win, he's now 4-3, and the save would go to the Mariners closer, Diego Castillo. Castillo allowed no earned runs as he finished off the 9th. He would strike out 2 batters and walk 1. He would pick up his 2nd save of the year. In the Mariners batting lineup, their second baseman, Adam Frazier, went 2 for 5. Their first baseman, Ty France, went 2 for 5 as well. Their left fielder, Jesse Winker, would end up going 2 for 5 with 2 runs. Their center fielder, Julio Rodriguez, would go 4 for 4 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs, as he would go on to hit his 2nd home run of the season. Not to mention that their third baseman in this matchup, Abraham Toro, would go 2 for 3 with an RBI and 2 runs. And with this win, the Seattle Mariners are now 16-19. That is the 3rd best record in the American League West. They've won 4 of their last 10 games. They sit 7 games behind the division-leading Houston Astros and the runners-up LA Angels. With this loss, the New York Mets are 23-13. That is the best record in the National League East and the 2nd best record in the they are holding on to the best record in the National League record-wise, actually, as their 23 wins are the most in the National League right now. They've lost 5 of their last 10 games as they sit 5.5 games ahead of the 2nd-place Philadelphia Phillies in their division. And right now, the only team that has a better win percentage than them, the 2 teams, are the Houston Astros, the New York Yankees, and also, not to mention, the LA Angels. There are 3 teams with better records than the Mets right now. But still, the Mets are sitting at the top of their division, sitting very comfortably ahead of the 2nd seed Philadelphia Phillies. Taking a look at what happened in Tampa, the Tampa Bay Rays hosted the Toronto Blue Jays. The Rays would end up beating the Blue Jays 3-0 as all 3 of their runs came in the 6th. And, of course, off of a fielder's choice, a wild pitch, and then a G-man choice single. On the losing end of this matchup, the Toronto Blue Jays saw the loss go to their starting pitcher, Alek Manoah. He allowed 3 runs off of 5 hits in the 6 innings he pitched. He struck out 4 batters, and with this loss, he's 4-1. In the Blue Jays batting lineup, nobody on their team would finish with more than 1 hit. On the winning end of this matchup, the Tampa Bay Rays would be led out by their starting pitcher, Jeffrey Springs. Springs allowed no earned runs, and he did allow 4 hits in 4.2 innings. He would strike out 2 batters. The win would go to the Rays' first relief pitcher, Matt Wisler, as he allowed no earned runs. He finished off the 5th inning and pitched the entire 6th, striking out a batter. With this win, he's 2-1. The save would go to the Rays' closer for the day, Andrew Kittredge. Andrew Kittredge would allow no earned runs as he did allow a hit in the 9th inning. He picked up his 5th save of the year. In the Rays batting lineup, nobody on their team would finish with more than 1 hit, as Ji-Man Choi would have the team's lone RBI. With this win, the Tampa Bay Rays are now 21-14. That is the second best record in the American League East. They've won 6 of their last 10 games. They are sitting 4.5 games behind the division-leading New York Yankees at this point. With this loss, the Toronto Blue Jays are now 18-17. That is the third best record in the American League East, as they've lost 7 of their last 10. They are sitting 7.5 games behind the division-leading New York Yankees at this moment. Taking a look at what's going on in Miami, not that far away from Tampa, the Marlins hosted the Milwaukee Brewers. After the Marlins took a 3-1 lead in the bottom of the 3rd, the Brewers would score 6 unanswered to beat the Marlins 7-3. They would take the lead off of an RBI single from Rowdy Tellez after Jace Peterson and Colton Wong hit home runs in that inning. On the losing end of that matchup, the Miami Marlins saw the loss go to their starting pitcher, Elieser Hernandez. Elieser Hernandez would allow 5 runs off of 3 hits in the 4 innings that he pitched. He would strike out 2 batters and walk 3. With this loss, he's now 2-3 on the year. And in the Marlins batting lineup, nobody on their team would finish with more than 1 hit. Their left fielder and the reigning World Series MVP, Jorge Soler, would hit his 7th home run of the season as he went 1-for-4. On the winning end of this matchup, the Milwaukee Brewers would see the win go to their starting pitcher, Brandon Woodruff. He allowed 3 runs off of 5 hits in the 5 innings he pitched. He struck out 6 batters and walked 2. With this win, he's now 4-2, and then the save would end up going to the Brewers' closer, Aaron Ashby. He would allow no earned runs and no hits in the last 4 innings of the game. He would strike out 8 batters as he picked up his very first save of the year. In the Brewers batting lineup, their second baseman, Colton Wong, ended up going 2-for-2 with an RBI and 2 runs on the day, as he would go on to hit his 3rd home run of the year. Their designated hitter, Rowdy Tellez, went 2-for-4 with 2 RBIs and a run. And then their catcher, Omar Narvaez, went 2-for-5 with an RBI. With this win, the Milwaukee Brewers are 22-13. That is the best record in the National League Central. They've won 5 of their last 10. They are sitting 2.5 games ahead of the second place St. Louis Cardinals in their division. And with this loss, the Miami Marlins are now 15-19. That is the 4th best record in the National League East. They've now lost 7 of their last 10 games. They are now sitting 7 games behind the division-leading New York Mets at this moment. Taking a look at what happened in Minneapolis, the Minnesota Twins hosted the Cleveland Guardians. The Twins would end up beating the Guardians 3-1. The Guardians tied it up at 1 in the 4th, but the Twins would take the lead right back off of a Gio Urshela home run in the bottom of the 4th. On the losing end of this matchup, the Cleveland Guardians saw the loss go to their starting pitcher, Tristan McKenzie. McKenzie allowed 3 earned runs off of 3 hits in the 7 innings he pitched. He would strike out 4 batters and walk 2 in the 7 innings he pitched, and with his loss, he's 2-3. In the Guardians batting lineup, their left fielder in this game, Richie Palacios, would go 2-for-3. Their elite third baseman, Jose Ramirez, would go 1-for-4 with an RBI and a run, as his lone home run would be his 8th of the year, his lone run for the Guardians. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Minnesota Twins saw the win go to their starting pitcher, Joe Ryan. Joe Ryan would allow 1 earned run off of 4 hits in the 6 innings he pitched. He would strike out 5, and with his win, he's 4-2. The save would end up going to the Twins closer, Emilio Pagan. He allowed no earned runs and only 1 hit in the 9th inning as he struck out a batter. This would be his 5th save of the year. No one in the Twins would record more than 1 hit, as Gio Urshela's home run would be his third, and Byron Buxton hit his 11th home run of the year. With this win, the Minnesota Twins are 20-15. That is the best record in the American League Central. They are the 5th team in the American League to cross the 20-win threshold. They've won 5 of their last 10 games as they now sit 3 games ahead of the two-way tie in their division for second place between the Chicago White Sox and the Cleveland Guardians. With this loss, the Cleveland Guardians are 16-17. They are tied with the White Sox for the second best record in their division as they've now lost 4 of their last 10. They sit 3 games behind the division-leading Minnesota Twins, kind of like I just said. Taking a look at what's going on in Chicago, the White Sox hosted the New York Yankees, and of course the Yankees were able to pull off a 5-1 win in Chicago, winning it 5-1, not even really giving the White Sox a chance to really have a lead in this game. And even though the Yankees scored 5, they were only held to 2 hits all game. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Chicago White Sox saw the loss go to their starting pitcher, Michael Kopech. Kopech allowed 3 earned runs off of 1 hit in the 6 innings he pitched. He would strike out 3 batters and walk 4. With this loss, he's now 0-1. In the White Sox batting lineup, their right fielder, Luis Robert, went 2 for 4. He was the only player in the game with a multi-hit game. On the winning end of this matchup, the New York Yankees saw the win go to their starting pitcher, Nestor Cortez. He allowed 1 earned run off of 3 hits in the 8 innings he pitched. He would strike out 7 batters, and with his win, he's now 2-1. In the Yankees batting lineup, nobody on their team had more than 1 hit, as their left fielder, Joey Gallo, hit his 5th home run of the year, finishing with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. With this win, the New York Yankees are 25-9. That is the best record in the American League East. The Yankees are holding on to the best record in the majors. They are still the only team in baseball that has a single-digit amount of losses, as they are now 25-9. They've won 7 of their last 10 games. They are now sitting 4.5 games ahead of the second-place Tampa Bay Rays at this moment. With this loss, the Chicago White Sox are 16-17. They are tied with the Cleveland Guardians for the second best record in the American League Central. They have now lost 4 of their last 10 games. They are sitting 3 games behind the division-leading Minnesota Twins at this point. Taking a look now at what's going on in Arlington, the Rangers hosted the Boston Red Sox, and after the Red Sox scored the first run of the game, the Rangers would score 7 unanswered to win it 7-1. They would tie the game with a Cole Calhoun home run in the bottom of the 5th. They would take the lead off of an Adolis Garcia 3-run home run in the bottom of the 6th, followed by Cole Calhoun's second home run of the day. Adolis Garcia would hit his second home run of the game a couple innings later. Both those players had 2 home runs. On the losing end of this matchup, the Boston Red Sox would be led out by their starting pitcher in this matchup, Austin Davis. Davis would allow no earned runs and no hits in the first 2 innings of this game. He struck out 2 batters and even walked 1. The loss for the Red Sox went to their second relief pitcher, Ryan Brazier. Brazier allowed 4 earned runs off of 3 hits as he pitched the 6th inning. He would strike out 3 batters and walk 1. With this loss, he's 0-2. In the Red Sox batting lineup, their elite third baseman, Rafael Devers, went 3 for 4 as he would finish with an RBI. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Rangers saw the win go to their starting pitcher, Martin Perez. Perez would allow 1 earned run off of 5 hits in the 6 innings he pitched. He would strike out 7 batters and he walked 2. With this win, he's now 2-2. In the Rangers batting lineup, their center fielder, Adolis Garcia, would end up going 2 for 4 with 5 RBIs and 2 runs. He would hit his 5th and 6th home runs of the year. The Rangers right fielder, Cole Calhoun, went 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. He would go on to hit his 2nd and 3rd home runs of the year. With this win, the Texas Rangers are 14-19. That is the 4th best record in the American League West. They've won 5 of their last 10 games. They sit 8 games behind the division-leading Houston Astros and the runners-up, LA Angels, for the moment. With this loss, the Boston Red Sox are 13-21. That is the worst record in the American League East. They've lost 7 of their last 10 games. They are now sitting 12 games behind the division-leading New York Yankees. They're holding the 3rd worst record in the American League as only the Royals and the Tigers sit below them. Taking a look at what's going on in the Mile High City, the Colorado Rockies hosted the Kansas City Royals. The Royals would end up beating the Rockies 8-7. After the Royals scored 6 runs in the 5th, 6th, and 7th innings, the Rockies would score 7 runs in the 7th inning alone to take the lead, and then the Royals would take the lead right back in the top of the 9th off of a 2-run single from their elite catcher, Salvador Perez. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Colorado Rockies were led out by their starting pitcher Austin Gomber. Gomber allowed 3 earned runs off of 4 hits in 6 innings pitched. He would strike out 3 batters and even walk 3. The loss would end up going to the Rockies closer, Daniel Bard. He allowed 2 earned runs off of 2 hits in the 9th inning as he would strike out a batter and walk 2. He would pick up his second blown save of the year, and with this loss, he's now 1-1. In the Rockies batting lineup, their center fielder, Jonathan Daza, would end up going 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs and a run. Their second baseman, Brendan Rodgers, went 2 for 5 with a run as well. On the winning end of this matchup, the Kansas City Royals were led out by their starting pitcher, Daniel Lynch. Lynch allowed no earned runs off of 3 hits in the 5 innings he pitched. He would strike out 4 batters and even walk 4. The win in this matchup would go to the Royals' setup relief pitcher, Josh Staumont. Staumont would allow no earned runs and only 1 hit in the 8th inning, and he would strike out a batter. With this win, he's now 1-0. The save would end up going to the Royals' closer in this matchup, as the closing job for Kansas City was eventually given to Scott Barlow. Scott Barlow would allow no earned runs in the 9th inning as he would strike out a batter, picked up his 4th save of the year. In the Royals batting lineup, their elite right fielder, Whit Merrifield, went 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run. He would hit his 2nd home run of the year. Their left fielder, Hunter Dozier, went 2 for 5. Their third baseman in this match, Emmanuel Rivera, would end up going 2 for 3 with 3 RBIs and 2 runs. He hit his 1st home run of the year. With this win, the Kansas City Royals are now 12-20. That is the 4th best record in the American League Central, and they've now won 4 of their last 10. They were sitting 6.5 games behind the division-leading Minnesota Twins. With this loss, the Colorado Rockies are now 17-17. That is the worst record in the National League West, as they've now lost 7 of their last 10. They are currently sitting 4.5 games behind the division-leading LA Dodgers and the runners-up San Diego Padres. So that's where they sit. And taking a look at what's going on in Oakland, the Oakland Athletics hosted the Los Angeles Angels. The Angels were able to beat the Athletics 4-1 yesterday after scoring the first 2 runs of the game in the first inning off of a 2-run home run from Shohei. And the Athletics just wouldn't have a chance to take the lead in this game. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Athletics saw the loss go to their starting pitcher, Frankie Montas. Montas allowed 2 earned runs off of 4 hits in the 6 innings he pitched. He struck out 12 batters and walked 1. With this loss, he's 2-4. In the Athletics batting lineup, their left fielder, Chad Pinder, went 2 for 2. On the winning end of this matchup, the LA Angels saw the win go to their starting pitcher, Patrick Sandoval. Patrick Sandoval allowed 1 earned run off of 4 hits in the 6.1 innings that he pitched. He would strike out 4 batters and walk 4. With this win, Sandoval is 2-1 on the year. And then, of course, the save would end up going to the Angels closer, Jimmy Herget. He would allow no earned runs as he would go on to finish off the 7th inning and pitch the entire 8th and 9th. He picked up his first save of the year. In the Angels batting lineup, their right fielder, Taylor Ward, went 2 for 5 with a run. Their elite designated hitter, the reigning American League MVP, Shohei Ohtani, would go 1 for 3 with 2 RBIs and a run as he would hit his 8th home run of the year. Their elite third baseman, Anthony Rendon, went 2 for 4 with an RBI. With this win, the LA Angels are now 24-13. That is the 2nd best record in the American League West. They've now won their last 2 games, and they've won 7 of their last 10. They are now holding 1 more win and 1 more loss than the division-leading Houston Astros. So that's currently where they sit, as both the Astros and the Angels sit 7 games ahead of the 3rd-place Seattle Mariners. With this loss, the Oakland Athletics are 15-22. That is the worst record in the AL West, as they've now lost their last 2 games, and they've lost 5 of their last 10. They are currently sitting 9 games behind the division-leading Houston Astros and the runners-up LA Angels as well. Taking a look at what's going on in Phoenix, the Arizona Diamondbacks hosted the Chicago Cubs. The Cubs would end up beating the Diamondbacks 3-2. The Diamondbacks did tie the game up at 2 in the bottom of the 4th, and the Cubs would win this game in the top of the 9th off of a Frank Schwindel's RBI single. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Arizona Diamondbacks saw the start go to Humberto Castellanos. Castellanos allowed 2 earned runs off of 5 hits in the 5.1 innings he pitched. He would strike out 5 batters and walk 1. The loss would go to the Diamondbacks setup relief pitcher Ian Kennedy, as he allowed one earned run off of 2 hits, as he would start off the 9th inning but not finish it. He would strike out a batter. With this loss, he's now 2-2. In the Diamondbacks batting lineup, their first baseman, Christian Walker, went 2 for 4 with a run. He was the only player with a multi-hit game. On the winning end of this matchup, the Chicago Cubs were led out by their starting pitcher, Justin Steele. Justin Steele would allow 2 runs off of 3 hits in the 6 innings that he pitched. He struck out 10 batters and would walk 2. The win would end up going to the Cubs' setup relief pitcher, Scott Effross. He allowed no earned runs and only 1 hit in the 8th inning as he struck out a batter. With his win, he's now 1-1. The save would end up going to the Cubs' closer, Rowan Wick. Rowan Wick would allow no earned runs and only 1 hit in the 9th inning. He would pick up his 4th save of the year. In the Cubs batting lineup, their third baseman, Patrick Wisdom, went 2 for 4 with an RBI and 2 runs. He hit his 6th home run of the year. Their designated hitter, Frank Schwindel, went 2 for 4 with an RBI. With this win, the Chicago Cubs are now 13-20. That is the 4th best record in the National League Central. They've won their last 2 games and they've won 4 of their last 10. They are now sitting 8 games behind the division-leading Milwaukee Brewers. With this loss, the Arizona Diamondbacks are now 18-17. That is the 4th best record in the National League West, as they've now lost their last 2 games and they've lost 4 of their last 10. They are sitting 4 games behind the division-leading LA Dodgers and the runners-up San Diego Padres. Taking a look at what's going on in Los Angeles, the LA Dodgers went on to host the Philadelphia Phillies. The Dodgers would go on to beat the Phillies 5-4 as they had to come from behind after the Phillies scored the first 4 runs of the game. The Dodgers would take the lead in the bottom of the 9th off of a walk-off 2-run double from Gavin Lux, as he would bring Cody Bellinger and Chris Taylor to the plate in, of course, dramatic fashion. On the losing end of this matchup, the Philadelphia Phillies would see Aaron Nola get the start. Aaron Nola allowed 2 earned runs off of 4 hits in the 7 innings he pitched. He would strike out 8 batters and walk 2. The loss would end up going to the Phillies closer in this matchup, Corey Knebel. Corey Knebel allowed 2 earned runs off of 2 hits as he would not make it through the 9th. He would walk a batter, and he would pick up his 2nd blown save of the season. He's now 0-3 on the year for Philadelphia. In the Phillies batting lineup, their designated hitter, Alec Bohm, went 2 for 5. Their second baseman, Gene Segura, went 2 for 5 with a run. And then their catcher in this matchup, Garrett Stubbs, would go 2 for 3 with an RBI and a run. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown LA Dodgers saw the start go to Michael Grove. Grove allowed 4 runs off of 4 hits in the 3.2 innings he pitched. He would strike out 3 batters and then walk 3, as the win would end up going to the Dodgers closer for the day, as it would go to Shane Green. Shane Green would go on to allow no earned runs and only 2 hits in the last 2 innings of the game. He would strike out a batter, and with his win, he's now 1-0. In the Dodgers batting lineup, their elite right fielder Mookie Betts, former American League MVP, ended up going 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run as he hit his 7th home run of the year. He was the only player on the Dodgers side with more than 1 hit. And with this win, the LA Dodgers are now 21-12. That is the best record in the National League West. Win percentage-wise, they are holding the 2nd best record in the National League behind the Mets. They are now won 5 of their last 10 games. They have 1 less win and 1 less loss than the Padres, but that's so they kind of sit even with them. They sit a game and a half ahead of the 3rd place San Francisco Giants as well, within their division. With this loss, the Philadelphia Phillies are 17-18. That is the 2nd best record in the National League East, as they have now lost 4 of their last 10. They are sitting 5.5 games behind the division-leading New York Mets at this point in the year. And then last but not least, taking a look at what happened in St. Louis. The St. Louis Cardinals hosted the San Francisco Giants, I believe, on primetime. They would go on to beat the Giants 15-6, as they would go on, of course, to score 11 runs before the Giants would score their first 2 runs in the 6th inning. On the losing end of this matchup, the San Francisco Giants would see the loss go to their starting pitcher, Carlos Rodon. Rodon allowed 8 earned runs off of 10 hits in 3.2 innings pitched. He struck out 3 batters and walked 1, and with this loss, Rodon is 4-2. In the Giants batting lineup, their left fielder Luis Gonzalez went 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs and a run. He had his 2nd home run of the year. are also in their batting lineup. Their former AL MVP third baseman Evan Longoria went 2 for 4. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown St. Louis Cardinals would see the win go to their starting pitcher, Adam Wainwright. He allowed 2 earned runs off of 3 hits in the 6 innings that he pitched as he struck out 5 batters and walked 2. With this win, he's now 4-3. In the Cardinals batting lineup, their elite first baseman Paul Goldschmidt went 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs and 3 runs. He would go on to hit his 4th home run of the year. Their left fielder in this matchup, Juan Yepes, went 2 for 4 with 2 runs. Their future Hall of Fame designated hitter, Albert Pujols, who would end up pitching for them for a second, went 2 for 3 as he had an RBI and 2 runs. And then as a pitcher, he would go on to close the game. He did allow 4 runs off of 3 hits as he did walk a batter. He did allow 2 home runs. But still, he was able to do both. The Cardinals catcher, Yadier Molina, went 2 for 3 with 4 RBIs and a run as he had his 2nd home run of the season as well. And then their right fielder, Dylan Carlson, would go 2 for 5 with an RBI. Not to mention their shortstop, Edmundo Sosa, would go 2 for 5 with an RBI and a run. With this win, the St. Louis Cardinals are 19-15. That is the 2nd best record in the National League Central as they've won their last 2. They've won 5 of their last 10 games, and they now sit 2.5 games behind the division-leading Milwaukee Brewers. With this loss, the San Francisco Giants are 20-14. That is the 3rd best record in the National League West as they've now lost their last 2 games. They've lost 4 of their last 10 as they now sit a game and a half behind the division-leading LA Dodgers, and they also sit a game and a half behind the runners-up San Diego Padres as well. That is what the MLB is looking like following yesterday's games. Taking a look at what's going on with today's games because, of course, today is Monday. We're not going to see that many games on prime time. First of these matchups is going to be at 6:40 in Tampa as Corey Kluber and the Rays are going to host the Detroit Tigers as they are going to be led up by Alex Faedo. Right after that, it looks at 6:40 as though the Miami Marlins are going to host the Washington Nationals as both teams are sitting at the bottom of their divisions. At 7:05, the Baltimore Orioles are going to be hosting the New York Yankees as the Yankees hold the best record in baseball. They still have yet to pick up 10 losses. At 7:07 in the Rogers Center, the Toronto Blue Jays are going to host the Seattle Mariners. At 7:10, the Boston Red Sox are set to host the Houston Astros as Jake Odorizzi is going to make the start for the Houston Astros in this matchup. He enters this game with a 3-2 record, holding a 3.38 ERA. At 7:10, the New York Mets are set to host the St. Louis Cardinals at Citi Field as the Mets hold the best record in the NL East. At 7:40 on ESPN Plus, it looks as though the NL Central leading Milwaukee Brewers are set to host the Atlanta Braves, the reigning World Series champs, and a rematch of last year's division series. At 7:40 in Wrigley Field, Wade Miley and the Cubs are going to host the Pittsburgh Pirates. At 8:05 in Globe Life Field, the Texas Rangers are set to host the AL West leading Los Angeles Angels. At 8:10, the Kansas City Royals are set to host the Chicago White Sox in Kauffman Stadium. At 8:40, Antonio Senzatella and the Colorado Rockies are going to host the San Francisco Giants. At 9:40 in Oakland Coliseum, the Athletics are set to host the AL Central leading Minnesota Twins. At 10:10, last but not least, the LA Dodgers are set to host the Arizona Diamondbacks as the Dodgers hold the best record in that division. With that said, that's pretty much what I have going on with American sports. Taking a look at what's going on in Europe, starting off with England. Moving to what's specifically going on in the Premier League. The top team that was able to play in Premier League yesterday was Manchester City. And after they fell down 2-0 to West Ham, they were able to even the game up as they ended it in a draw. Because they ended it in a draw, the Premier League table is still going to go into its last week as they really could have ended the season then and there, but they didn't, which of course gives, I guess, Liverpool a slight chance to possibly win it. Taking a look at what else happened in England yesterday, Tottenham was able to beat Burnley 1-0 as their lone goal came off of a penalty kick from Harry Kane. With this win, Tottenham is now temporarily in Champions League as they sit 2 points ahead of Arsenal as Arsenal's played one less game. They do put the pressure on Arsenal to win their next game if Arsenal wants to get in over Tottenham. Taking a look at what else is going on in Europe, jumping to Spanish La Liga. The La Liga runners up, Barcelona, were able to draw with Getafe, as the actual La Liga champs Real Madrid were able to draw with Cadiz 1-1. With both of these teams drawing, of course, the top two teams in La Liga are going to be sitting as is, as they both have one more games left in their schedule, as they both should finish 1-2. Number 3 in Spain right now is Atletico Madrid, as they ended up drawing with Sevilla, as Atletico's lone goal in the 30th minute would come from Jose Jimenez, and Sevilla's lone goal came from Youssef En-Nesyri. So they both sit 3 and 4, as Sevilla sits 3 points ahead of 5th place Real Betis with 1 game left. Atletico Madrid, with that draw, had clinched a spot in Champions League. So now the pressure is on Sevilla, of course, to not lose their next game, as they are even on goal differentials with 5th place Real Betis. But this is a very interesting game from both teams. Taking a look at what's going on outside of that in Italy for right now, the top team in Italy that was able to play yesterday was AC Milan. They ended up beating Atalanta 2-0, as Rafael Leao and Teo Hernandez's second half goals would win. And then Inter Milan would beat Cagliari 3-1, as they would see 2 goals from their elite Argentinian forward Lautaro Martinez. As with this win, they are sitting 2 points below AC Milan, meaning that the Serie A title race is going on into the last game. If AC Milan draws or loses and Inter wins, Inter should win the title, as Inter does have the goal differential advantage. So, of course, that's a lot there. 3rd place in Italy, Napoli was able to beat Genoa 3-0, as their goals came from Osimhen, Insigne, and Lobotka. So that is what Italy is looking like as of right now. And that's pretty much what I have for you today, as we've navigated through this world of sports one day at a time. And once everything is done today, I'm, of course, going to come back to what's going on tomorrow. But taking a look at what's going on today in the Premier League, Arsenal is going to face off against Newcastle United. Looking specifically at that game, Arsenal with a win here can jump back into Champions League contention, as they have 2 more games left in their season. Tottenham has put the pressure on Arsenal to win this upcoming game, and it would be very favorable for them to do it. Their team, the team that they're facing, Newcastle, comes in as the 14th best team in England, so it's going to be very tough for. I mean, they're not playing for as much as Arsenal is, so I expect Arsenal to bring their full credit, their full effort. And then, of course, in Serie A, Juventus, the 4th best team in Serie A, is set to face off against Lazio after they've already clinched a Champions League spot at this point. Now Lazio is still sitting 5th, as they are trying to seat themselves out from Roma. But it'll be very interesting to see how this game plays out. But I imagine Juve is pretty comfortably sitting there in 4th place, as I don't think they can really move up or down. But that's pretty much what I have. With that said, today is Monday, May 16th, and I do want to thank the NBA, the NHL, the MLB, and the FIFA websites for getting me here. And once everything's done today, I'm going to catch up with what's going on tomorrow. Once we get to tomorrow on Tuesday, May 17th. And until then, thanks for listening. I hope all is well, and I'll catch you with more then. Thanks for listening to my piece. Peace out.